believe it was Monday night, Monday or Tuesday morning, I don't know exactly. Kathy and I got down at the house to pray, and I was trying to pray, and I could cough and cough. Every time I tried to speak, Brother John, I'd just cough. Finally, she just quit, and she looked at me, she said, God can hear you. You don't have to talk. But we just like to, when we pray, we like to pray out loud. And I know God can hear the thoughts of our hearts, but He's helping us. Turn your Bibles to the book of Genesis, chapter 5. Then I'm going to go over to the book of James, chapter 4. You may say, how in the world are you tying this together? But it's just a thought that I've got on my mind. And Brother Sparks actually touched on a little bit of this last night. We went to Pea Ridge, and he preached, and talked about Methuselah, but I've got a little bit of different direction, a little bit of different thought than what he had last night. But if the Lord will help us, book of Genesis, chapter 5, verse 27. I do desire your prayers. It says, and all the days of Methuselah were 969 years, and he died. And in the book of James, chapter 4, verse 14, it says, whereas ye know not what shall be on the morrow, for what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time, and then vanish away. Thank you for standing for the reading. I thought this may be a little different, and I probably won't preach long. But then I might, who knows? But I thought as I read this in Genesis chapter 5, verse 27, talk about Methuselah. And all of his days was 969 years, and he died.
Right.
That is more than we can even imagine.
Right.
If a man today lives to be in his 90s, it seems like he's lived a long life. But even then, I thought my papa's here, and he's 85, and you can get to talking to him about some things that he done when he was a young man my age, and I'm 45, and that's not been a long time ago.
No.
I remember him when he was in his 40s and stout and work and the things he was able to do, and I look back and I realize how rapidly that has passed away.
That's right.
We were up there at Pea Ridge last night, and I was looking at him, and I could see, and he's still getting around good for his health, and I look back and I remember Brother Sparks said times whenever he was just in his 60s and I believe it was in his early 60s maybe, and he had his first heart attack, and things began to deteriorate, and we wondered if he'd ever be here to be 85. But he's here with us tonight.
Right.
But like I said, we look at those and time slips by so quick.
Right.
And we know this. But most of us, we spend our life trying to achieve something, and we work hard to have things. I mentioned it this morning in Sunday school. There's nothing wrong with having things. It's just what are we doing to achieve those things? Are we putting God first in everything? Or are we putting God on the back burner, if you would, so we can have our things? And I thought our text said that Methuselah lived to be 669 years old. 969-year-old. The oldest recorded lifespan ever yet and ever will be was Methuselah.
Right.
But you would think that a man that lived that long would at least have gotten one whole chapter in the Bible. But all he got was one verse. Think about that. A man that lived and we don't have no record of anything that he ever achieved other than he lived to be 969 years old. And then he died. And I begin to think about that. All of that time and all of that lifespan, and yet we know nothing at all about him. We don't know what kind of trade he had. We don't know if, I don't know how things was back then, before the flood. A lot of people look at that as prehistoric. No, it wasn't prehistoric. We have the history of it in the Bible. It didn't take long to, just a few first chapters of Genesis, and it covered all that. But I thought, Brother Jim, he might have been the CEO of his company. We don't know what he was. But I thought all we do know is that he lived a long life, and he died. And I thought, we do know that he was the son of Lamech, I think is how you pronounce that. I thought he lived 777 years. The only thing that we can really get out of him is the number of years that he lived, 777. That's the number of the Lord. So God must have found some. He must have found some favor in the eyes of God. And I thought, but yet we find these men that live these long lives. And God granted it to them. But I thought we don't find nothing in the Scripture to say what they done. Or what kind of life they lived. Or even what they achieved for God. And I begin to think about that. And I begin to think about our lives. And if I could title this tonight, I'd simply just title it, Are You Doing What Matters? Are we doing what matters? I thought that Matthew chapter 6 and verse 19, it says, Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through to steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, whether neither moth nor rust corrupt, or where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart be also. Right. And I thought, I began to think about that. And the reason that I feel like that this is put in the Scripture was just simply to let us know that we can tell what a man's desires is. And when I say man, I'm talking about women too. It's just a figurative of speech. But I thought we can tell what a person's desires is by their possessions. Right. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with having things. But I thought when we begin to strive for things rather than the things of God, I thought, what are we getting our fulfillment from? Right. I thought we can live a full life with all kinds of adventures and achievements. But I thought when our life is over, what then? I thought we can live a life without nothing and have God and die, and no one would ever notice that we're even gone. But I thought we can still have it all. Right. I thought so it's a matter of where our goals are in life, and I thought what we're planning on, and I thought what direction we're wanting. I thought God is not impressed with our status and our degrees. Right. I thought our employment history. I thought that doesn't mean a thing to God. I thought when me and Sister Kathy first got married, I thought we were in love and money didn't matter. We decided to get married anyway, Brother John. And I was making $3, and I think at that time 65 cents. It might have been 45 cents an hour. And so if that's what you're making, I advise you not to get married today. Wait a little bit. But we got married, and we hadn't been married long, and she had we was at her Ma Jane's, and her aunt and uncle were in from Georgetown, and Jubal was a barber, owned his own shop there, and his wife, we were there talking one day, and she asked me where I worked. And like I said, I was just a kid. I was 18-year-old when we got married. And I told her where I worked. I was working at a convenience store. And she said, "Are you in management?" I said, "No. I just work at a convenience store." And she probably wondered, what in the world is this girl doing marrying this boy, working at a convenience store? And but I thought, she looked and she thought maybe if I was in management, then we had a future. But she looked at me and you could see the disbelief Whenever I said, no, I'm not in management. I'm just working there. And I thought because people look at our prominence in life, our goals, or what we are achieving. Right. I thought, I'm in management now. Sometimes I wished I wasn't, Brother Ricky. It drives us crazy sometimes. And I thought, it's what we are achieving in life that people are looking on. Right. But I thought it's not our life's achievements that God is judging us on. It's what we're doing for Him. Right. How eager we are to do more for God. Right. And I thought, but the thing is, if we're not careful, we get so eager to achieve the things in this life that sometimes it's just not able to happen. I thought there at work, and I'm sure Brother Danny won't care me saying this, but he's been there a long time. And he is, without that, Brother Lester working there, and he's a salesman, and he's young at it. And but by far most, Brother Danny is the best salesman that Uncle Charlie's has got. And I don't care to say that in front of him. And but we just had a promotion there at work, and the sales manager, for some reason, decided that he was going to set his promotion so high that it was not possible for him to reach that. I mean, he couldn't have reached that. He went by a month where that the sales were so high because of all of the Christmas parties and all the things, and some of the customers that he's got, the things that they have going on, and I mean they buy a lot of Tenderloin. And but he set that goal so high that Brother Danny, he couldn't have reached it if he had tried. And which he did sell. He sold a lot of Tenderloin last month. And but he still didn't reach his quota. And I thought, and that could have discouraged him. And a lot of them it probably would have discouraged. Right. But I thought he's kept his integrity. Yeah, he complained about it a little bit, but he had a right to. But I thought the main thing, we look at that, and a lot of times we can have something to upset us in a way that we're just willing to just give up. The whole world's against me. I might as well just throw in the towel and quit. But I thought it's not our achievements in this life that causes it. It's our achievements, that the things that we're trying to do for Him. I hope I'm helping you tonight. I thought, like I said, we can find favor in our positions in life. But I thought it's our position with God that we're going to be recognized by. Because once, like I said, once this life is over, we're dead, we're gone, that is it. I thought, we read in the news this morning, somebody made me, I don't even remember his name, but some old rock and roll legend, black guy, he wrote the song Johnny Be Good. He passed away. And I think he's like 90-something years old. And, and I read a little bit about his history this morning, and I didn't know his name. And like I said, I still don't remember what his name was. I just read the article this morning. And I read the things about his early life, how he got in trouble with the law, and a lot of different things. And but he's dead now, and he's wrote a few old rock and roll songs, and he sit up there and he's an idol. But I thought after a while he's going to be dead, and he's going to be buried, and he's going to be gone, and yeah, his name will still be remembered, but what would he have with God? Right. And I thought as I read it this morning, I began to talk about Elvis Presley and some of those other ones, those rock legends that's dead and gone. And yeah, their legacy is still remembered, but what about their legacy with God? That's it. And I thought more than anything in this world, and people recognizing my name, I thought I want to have a legacy with God. I want to do what matters. I thought, are we doing what matters in life? Or are we doing what we think matters? And I thought we find men that had a position with God and things that we can remember by. I thought when you mentioned the name Enoch, which was the grandfather of Methuselah, I thought when you mentioned his name, he was the father of Methuselah. I'm sorry, and his when you think about him, he walked with God. And that's what you think about when you think about Enoch, a man that walked with God. And then we think of David, and I realize David sinned and done some things. But when you think about David, the first thing you think was a man that sought after the very heart of God. And I thought, then we have Abraham, and he was a man of faith, a man that just left everything he had to seek after a place that God told him that was his. A promise from God. A man that was willing to walk out on faith. And then we find Moses. He ascended to Nebo's Peak to simply walk by and find the time to spend with God. And actually walk by, God put him in the cleft of the rock as he walked by and was closer to God than anybody else. And I thought then we find John. He was a man that the Bible says that Jesus loved. And then we have Job. He was an upright man. Yeah. Daniel was a man faithful to God. Elijah was a courageous man. Joshua was one who with his family served the Lord. Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. And I thought that we think about these men. I thought this is men that was doing what mattered. And I thought we could remember them because they had a position with God. That's right. And I thought, do we want a position with this world, or do we want a position with God? That's right. I thought, I want to do the things that matters tonight. Yes. I thought, are we doing? Sorry, what are we doing? I thought the Bible gives us a hint as to what some of the cloud of witnesses did outside of their faith. And I thought others were faithless. And I thought we could read about their errors as well. And I thought the Scripture gives records of some of those that were faithless with God. And I thought we could read about Cain. And I thought Cain was a man, the firstborn of Adam. And I thought a man that had the position to do great things. Yeah. But instead, he just decided to be a good farmer. Mm-hmm. He decided to raise his crops. And then instead of doing what God would have him to do, he done what Cain wanted to do. Right. And I thought, we know where that led him. We know that it led him to take his own brother's life. Yeah. Because Abel was a shepherd and he was willing to do things the way God wanted them done. And I thought, are we doing the things that matter or the things that we think needs to be done? Oh, God. I thought we could read about Jonathan, and I thought we could find that he was a prince. And I thought, Jonathan never did get to the kingship, but yet he was remembered as a prince. Oh, yeah. And I thought we could look at Peter, and I thought we could think of Peter was a mighty man. But I thought Peter could have been satisfied with just being a fisherman. Right. I thought Peter was a mighty good fisherman. And I thought he could have been satisfied with that. But I thought on the day of Pentecost, I thought Peter laid the fishing aside. And I thought, I don't read nowhere else where that he went back and picked it up. I thought because he was on the job for the Lord. I thought he wanted what matters. We realized that after Jesus was crucified, he went back to fishing. And I thought, but Jesus came back and he, the events that took place there. But I thought after the day of Pentecost, after he got a real experience with God, the only thing that mattered to Peter was getting others into the ark of the safety of Jesus Christ. And I thought, are we doing the things that matters, or are we doing what we're wanting out of life? You're preaching right. I thought there's a lot of people that's mentioned throughout the Bible. A lot of them desire the things of self. And I thought it's the ones that desire the things of God that we remember and that we begin to teach our children at the earliest of ages in Sunday school about how that they done, Daniel in the lion's den, the 3 Hebrew boys in the fiery furnace, and those things we begin to teach them, and because they were more concerned about the things of God and what was going to happen to them. That's right. And I thought we was teaching in Sunday school this morning. I thought Paul wasn't worried about himself, but what God had for him. That's right. And I thought his life did no longer matter. That's right. But only what God. I thought the most obvious things in life that a lot of people we all have. We're all recorded. And I thought that we all of us that are here this evening, somewhere we have a birth certificate. And most of us, well, if you're being used on anybody's income tax, you have a Social Security number. And most of us can remember that because it's something that we use. We have to have. And I learned my Social Security number at a young age, because especially when I started working, because I had to use it a lot. And I thought we had those things. And I thought we were going to school, and I thought we received a report card. They kept record of everything we done throughout the year. And there was a few times that I dreaded bringing that record home, Brother Bill, more times than I enjoyed bringing it home, to be honest with you, because I never liked school. And I thought, so everything that we do throughout life, we've always had a record. And I thought the main thing is, what kind of record do we have with God?
That's right.
I thought the most important record is the one that God's keeping. I thought we've heard it said when we die, there's 2 dates on the stone. There's the date we were born and the date we die.
That's right.
And I thought those 2 dates, once we're dead and gone, are just dates.
That's right.
I thought June the 7th, 1971, I was born into this world. I don't remember the time. I think it was at night. I don't remember. And but I came into this world, and there'll be a day that I leave this world, and there'll be a number put after that. But I thought, what matters is that little line in between.
That's it.
And I thought, what have I done through that little hyphen in the middle of my life, between the day I was born and the day I die? I thought, that's what matters. And I thought, like I said, God's keeping a record of those days. And I thought, it's the days that represent our life that God's holding us accountable for. And I thought the day I was born, I wasn't held accountable for that day, because I was just an innocent child. And once I become of age and I begin to understand things, and and I began to be taught things, I thought from then I'm being held accountable.
That's right.
Until that day I die. And I thought over the book of Revelations, and I'm coming to the end if they want to come and get the song. Book of Revelations chapter 20, verse 12. It says, "And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before God, and the books were opened. And another book was opened, which is the book of life. And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them. And they were judged every man according to their works. Death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire." I thought, like I said, God is keeping a record
Yes, He is.
of our life tonight.
Yes.
And I thought, we're not going to be judged by nobody else's life, by ours.
Right.
And I thought, we don't know much about Methuselah. And I thought, and we don't know much about his son, Lamech, I think's how you pronounce that, except for that they did live long lives. But I thought that it was Lamech's son that we read about, Noah. So because Enoch walked with God, and he was the father of Methuselah, and because Noah found favor in the eyes of God, and he built the ark, we just take for granted that Methuselah and Lamech were godly men also. That's really all the record we have. And we just take it for granted. And I feel like they were, or they would have been mentioned here. Plus with their names and the things that they done. Brother Sparks mentioned last night that Methuselah's name meant that after his death, then the end was going to come, or however it was, the flood was going to take place after the death of Methuselah. And so God had a prominent place for Methuselah. But like I said, we don't have no record of his life. But we looked at the life of Enoch, and we look at the life of Noah. But I thought, we can't judge these other two men by their lives. Neither can we judge your life by the ones that was before you and the ones that was after you. I thought you might have had the best granny and grandpa that ever was. And I thought, if you're not allowing God to move through you, that's not going to matter a bit in judgment for you. Granny and grandpa is going to stand in judgment for themselves. And I thought, all that you can stand in judgment for is what you're doing. So my question to you tonight, are you doing what really matters? Or are you trying to achieve more of the things of this life? I thought, as they give us a song tonight, I hope I've helped you. And I'm sure this is pretty elementary, but it's all I've had. And I've been thinking about this all week. And I thought, are we doing what matters? I thought we can get chasing after things. And I thought a couple weeks ago, that old blue Yukon I was driving, boy, that worked. I don't know why he wanted it, and he just did. And he threw me a price. And I know I can't sell for that, so I threw him another. Well, he bought it. So that put me on the hunt for a vehicle, Brother David. And I began to hunt. And I thought, man, I have sold mine too cheap because I am not going to be able to replace it. And I sure did replace it for what I got out of mine, but I had to put a little with it. But I thought I began to diligently seek for a truck. Number one, I like to camp, and it's coming spring, and I'm on vacation a couple weeks, and I have a camper sitting there and nothing to pull with. I mean, I could borrow Brother Sparks', but I didn't want to do that. So I began to diligently seek for something to drive. And I thought, that's the way we are with the possessions of life. We began to realize, I need this, I need that, I need this. And we'll go diligently seeking for those things.
Right.
But are we really seeking for the things that matters?
Right.
And I thought, it's the things of God that matter. Are we putting God first in our life? Or are we just sitting here and abiding our time?
Yes, Lord.
I thought we are needing a real move of God.
Yes, we are. Yes, we
I thought our families are needing a real move of God. And I thought when we get a real move of God, I thought that the ones that aren't coming, guess what? They'll come, Sister Minnie, because they'll know that something is happening. And I thought when we get to see people healed, I thought people are going to start taking note. You say, oh, I've heard that before. But when we begin to seeking after the things that matters, that's when we're going to see it happen. But as long as we're seeking after the frivolous things, we're not going to see it happen. And we got our eyes on this and our mind on this, and we've just got so many distractions. I was coming home from work the other day, and sitting at the intersection there in front of me in Chrysler, and my light turned green. So I went to take off, and here come a car right straight at me, and a woman with her phone right up in her face. I don't know if she was talking in it, trying to talk text. I don't know what she's doing, or nearsighted, couldn't read it. But she couldn't see me for the phone. And I thought, because we're in our everyday life, we're full of distractions.
Right.
And we're not seeking after
God, help
what
us,
really
Lord.
matters. Is what God wants in our life. As they give us a song tonight, let's pray.
Remember when you couldn't wait to show up early and find your place, 'cause you didn't want to miss a thing. Your heart was open and ready for change. Oh, those days you were never afraid to sing, never afraid to lift your hands, didn't care what people would think. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of our God. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of our God. So I will rejoice, I will rejoice and be glad. So I will rejoice, I will rejoice and be glad. See, I know for myself that He came and He healed me. He came and refreshed me. He came and He washed my sins away. So I will rejoice, I will rejoice and be glad. So I will rejoice, I will rejoice and be glad. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of our God. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of our God. So I will rejoice.